All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Um, this is going to be recorded, and I'd like to go ahead and get started. People can continue to filter in, but the main reason we do these is to have them available. So let's, if you can, go ahead and drop your where you're from and who you are in the chat, just to get a feel for who all is on the call, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said before, this will be recorded, and we'll have this available to review later on, so you don't have to feel like you have to take a bunch of notes or anything. But by all means, and then if you have questions and other things, just drop them in the chat. I will address them as I can. So I really appreciate y'all for being here, and I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. So I'm Chaz Robinson, and I am the programs leader here at Outride. I manage a couple of different grant programs for Outride. This one, of course, Riding for Focus. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the other grant programs that we have as well. And then we'll talk about, then we also have Bree, who's not on the call, but will be supporting the program throughout. So she's an important person to know, and an important person to understand who's on our team. So that's the two of us on the programs team. I'll introduce the rest of the team in a moment, so you know everything about the Outride team. Let's just talk a little bit about our agenda. So if I can get this going, we'll give you an overview rather, of Outride and everything that we do. And then we'll talk about Riding for Focus eligibility. Let's talk about our general guidelines. We'll talk about the selection criteria, and then we'll talk about what it means to run a successful program. Then finally, we'll get to your questions and answer any questions you might have about the program and about what it might take to secure a grant and what it might take to eventually run a successful program. So that's what we're looking at today. Shouldn't be longer than about 45 minutes, if that. But like I said, you can always go back and review on your own time. So that being said, let's go ahead and go to the general overview of what all Outride is and what all Outride is about. So, a lot of you are probably already familiar with our organization, but we really started back in 2012 with this question: how can cycling improve social, emotional, and cognitive health? And from that question, an organization was founded by the gentleman here, Mike Senior, who is also the founder of Specialized Bicycle Components. He found that, when he was able to ride his bike and when he was able to get out and be active, that his ADHD symptoms seemed to improve, and he wanted to investigate why that was the case. And so we commissioned some research studies, and from those research studies, we came up with the Riding for Focus program, which we're all here today to learn more about. But since then, our organization has evolved to really have this mission, which is that Outride provides research, cycling programs, and funding to empower all people to experience the social, emotional, and cognitive benefits of cycling. So Riding for Focus, our other grant program, our research is all in service of this mission. And we hope that, you guys are aligned with that and are looking to bring cycling programs to your community, looking to be involved in our research because of its extraordinary power to improve our well-being. So that being said, our three main pillars at Outride are research, which we do in partnership with organizations like Stanford University, organizations like Loma Linda University, just really trying to investigate this link between social, emotional, and cognitive health and cycling across the lifespan, from young ages all the way up until aging populations. And then we have Riding for Focus, which is our school-based cycling education grant, which we'll talk about in detail today. And then we have our community impact grant, which is a cash grant or monetary grant for cycling nonprofits who are looking to build out cycling programs and increase cycling opportunities in their community. And we can certainly talk more about that at a different time, but of course, today's focus is about Riding for Focus. Just a little bit about Outride and our impact. So, each year, at this point, up to 60,000 youth are impacted by outright programs, whether that's Ride for Focus or whether by grants that we've given out to a nonprofit or by research initiatives. And this year, just in 2024, we've granted about 2,000 bikes. We've inducted about 58 Ride for Focus schools who are implementing the program across the United States and Canada. And in total, we've given away about $1.5 million and supported 43 cycling nonprofits and been featured and mentioned in about 75 media articles, which just is a testament to the movement that we've created here and that you all are looking to be a part of, or maybe you're already a part of in some way or another. So this is a continuation of this work, and we're really excited about this new round, this new grant application cycle. If you take a look at Riding for Focus in particular, you know, this is just some numbers to, again, testify the fact that, 46 new grants went out, and all those grants are serving youth from low-income backgrounds, which we think is really important because we know that cycling opportunity is access to cycling opportunities are uneven. So we really emphasize this low-income background piece. And then if you look at our cash grants from our community impact program, we did 43 new grants this year, distributed almost $400,000 in cash to cycling nonprofits, and just really proud of the work that we've been able to do to support cycling across the country. So that's just a little bit about who we are as an organization and about what we do and the impact that we've had. I think sometimes these questions always kind of come up, like how much are you going to give away? How much have you given away? So hopefully that kind of allows you to understand a little bit about the scale of what we're doing here at Outright. So again, I just want to make clear that today we're talking about Riding for Focus, and hopefully you're here for that. Sometimes those wires can get a little bit crossed. Some people think, grants and just think, cash, but today we're talking about Riding for Focus, which is our program grant, and I'll tell you all about that right now. Before that, though, here is the rest of our team. So David Wood, Esther Walker, myself, Bree, and Lauren make things go, and all do a little bit different things. But Esther leads up the research along with Lauren, and then Bree and I lead up the program's work. So they'll be the folks that you'll interact with as you go along your Riding for Focus journey. All right. So with that, let's get into exactly what Riding for Focus is and what Riding for Focus is all about. You'll hear me refer to it as R4F as well. So just those are the same thing. So what is Riding for Focus? We'll start with the basics. This is a rider education program. It's focused on safety and building confidence so that students can become lifelong riders and have the sort of skills they need to unlock the social, emotional, cognitive benefits of cycling, which we know come along with regular riding and regular participation in the sport. But to do that, you need to have a foundation. You need to have confidence. And so that's what Riding for Focus is looking to unlock and looking to inspire in students and in youth that are participating in the program. It's a 14-lesson curriculum. It's a fleet of specialized rock hoppers, which are entry-level mountain bikes that can be used for any purpose. They do have a front suspension fork on them, so they're technically mountain bikes, but you can use them anywhere to do anything. You get also a set of helmets. You get the support of Outright staff. Those folks that were on the previous slide will be at your beck and call to help you understand the program, help you understand the curriculum, help you understand the research, and support you in implementing the program. One person from the campus who receives a grant will get an all expenses paid trip to what we call our Riding for Focus camp, which is a 2.5-day professional development experience that has been in California, but this year will most likely be in Boulder, Colorado. So that's always a really great thing, a really fun event, and really prepares each instructor in the program to walk away feeling supported and feeling knowledgeable about how to implement. And then we also provide program evaluation services, which is really helping you understand the way that the program has impacted your students, surveys for the students, survey analysis of the data, and then a teacher implementation survey that allows us to gather feedback from the instructors about how things go and how we can improve. So these are all the things that are granted to the campus, to the school, at no cost and are part of the grant. So critically, there's no monetary support here. This is all in kind, right? This is all products or services. And I think that's a critical thing to note, that the program is really an in kind grant. So be clear about that. What are some of the teachers saying about the program? Why do they do this? Pretty much all of them say that this helps their students become more confident. They see an increase in students asking about wanting to ride bikes outside of school, take part in racing, take part in other types of opportunities. This really inspires a love of cycling. And they learn about the importance of bicycle safety, which we know is just really critical. Everything comes along with risk, and knowing how to navigate those risks is really important. And then 83% say that, Ride for Focus has helped increase student attendance and engagement in class, which is something that is also very important, even if it's not something that is, what we're going after in particular. We want to make sure students understand how to ride, but in doing that, they become more interested in coming to school. I think that's a really important outcome that we've seen tracked across programs. All right. So, this is a grant. This is a something that is an undertaking and something that we'll be following along with you along the way. And so with each grant comes along some reporting requirements. And so I wanted to just detail some of that at the beginning here, so you know what you're getting yourself into. So Ride and Focus, the program itself, the initial grant is going to you own the bikes, you own the equipment, you own everything. But for the first 2 years, we like to just understand how things are going. So for 2 years, we want you to keep at least 2 trained instructors of the program on your campus. Instructors are folks who are going to be actually teaching students. That's not an administrator. That's not a observer. These are teachers. And then we want you to complete our program evaluation protocol, which I'll go into for those 2 years, which are the student surveys and a teacher survey. And so those are really the things that we asked you to do for these first 2 years. Of course, you can keep on doing them after the 2 years are up, but those are the things you agree to once you're awarded to the program. So that's the reporting, and I think it's relatively low lift. We're not asking you to complete a quarterly report or anything of that nature, but we do like to see student surveys, even if the students can opt out of them. We do like to see teacher surveys about how things are going, and we do ask that you keep 2 trained instructors, and I'll help you understand what being trained means here in a moment. But that's the reporting requirements for the program. All right, now let's talk about eligibility and what that means to be eligible for this grant. Not all schools are eligible, not all organizations are eligible. So this is important to note. So we know that cycling is opportunity is uneven. And so we're looking to target schools that serve middle school students, because that's what the program is aimed for, but public schools, traditional or charter public schools, serving those middle school students. And those students, the schools that those students are serving, or those schools are serving, we want them to be primarily serving 40% from low income backgrounds or Title I status, either or, right? Because we just want to make sure that the students who are getting this program are the students who really sort of wouldn't ordinarily have access to really nice bikes and this type of program, this type of equipment. And so we figured that we need to focus on students from low income backgrounds. The program will only be granted to a school. Okay, so you can have a nonprofit partner, you can have a nonprofit organization who you're working with, but when Outright is evaluating the grant, we're only going to make sure this equipment goes to a school because we just find that's the best setting for the security of the bikes, for the implementation of the program. And so by all means, if you're a nonprofit and you want to interest in this program, we encourage you to go seek out a local school that you could partner with and have them be the steward of the grant and of the equipment, because that's one of our tenets of our program. Okay. So critically, the types of organizations that are not eligible are going to be, independent, private, or for-profit schools, standalone nonprofits who aren't partnered with a local public school. For-profit businesses won't be eligible. So, organizations like bike shops would that be eligible for the grant? You can certainly support a school if you're a bike shop, but you wouldn't be eligible for the grant itself. And then schools that are not primarily serving students from low-income backgrounds. Again, you know, the barrier to entry to cycling is so high, and we know that there's just a huge swath of the population that would not really get access to this type of program if it weren't for this sort of grant. So the program is also available for purchase, but that's not the purpose of this call. This is really just about the grant. So if you're interested in maybe coming back and purchasing the program because you don't meet these criteria, then you can have a separate conversation about what that looks like. Okay. So let's talk about the process for getting the grant and for applying. Okay. It's a fairly simple three-step process. You'll have an application to complete, which opens up on Monday. You'll have an interview by invitation, which will just really be a quick check-in, probably no more than 20, 25 minutes about your implementation readiness for the program. And then you'll have a decision likely within a week post this interview. Um, this will move pretty quickly once you get your application in. You'll know and have an opportunity to start planning, have an opportunity to start wrapping your head around what this means for your school, your campus, pretty quickly. But that just depends on really, getting that application in, having it be complete, having it be um, ready to be reviewed, and then participate in this interview with us. Once we have those two things, we'll be able to make a decision about whether or not the school is ready for a grant pretty quickly. From there, just really want people to understand again, like once you go to apply at outright.smaapply.org, you really want to click into this particular grant. And I say this only because, we always have people, we also have applicants who don't click this and click something else and end up applying to the wrong program or the wrong opportunity. So really, really make sure that you're applying for the Right for Focus program grant. And really make sure that you are looking for an in-kind grant of program and services and not the cash grant. All right. Again, we always just have folks who sort of mix these two things up, but no worries. Hopefully it's clear enough here. So just to remind you of the deadlines, from Monday, 10/14 to January 31st, the application window will be open. We'll be doing rolling interviews throughout that application period. You'll have a decision likely by, much earlier than spring 2025, but that'll be when we'll have all the decisions and the whole cohort of grants made. And that way you can have, 3 or 4 months before the end of the school year to really get that team together, really understand what it means to implement before you go off for summer break, before teachers go off for summer break, before students go off for summer break. And then you can come back in the fall and have everything ready to go, have your whole bike fleet set up, all your helmets set up, and have a nice long runway to understand implementing the program. All right. Those are the timelines. So let's talk a little bit about, the selection criteria and what we're going to be looking at once you get that application put in. Okay. So mission alignment. I went over the mission at this beginning of this call purposely just to help you understand what we're all about. And so when you're crafting your application, be thinking about how your school is trying to implement the program in order to align with our mission around how can cycling improve social, emotional, and cognitive health, right? We know that people love to cycle for performance. We know that people love to cycle for fitness, but in racing teams and things of that nature. But Ride for Focus is really about setting folks up to access the well-being benefits of cycling. So think about social emotional learning on your campus. Think about how might this program be introduced and align with that. Again, you look at student demographics and need. We're gonna ask you to really prove the fact that there's a need for this type of program on your campus in the application. You'll need to submit specific documentation around that. And then we'll look at the ability to implement with fidelity, which I'll go into in just a moment, about what that looks like and what it means to implement with fidelity. And we'll look at how well you're set up as a school to support the program on an ongoing basis, right? Not just the 2 years of the grant, but maybe even beyond that. Okay, so we'll look at the specific aspects of that, and I'll go into detail here in a second. So once you get the award, once we grade the application against that criteria, the folks on your campus, the instructors on your campus will need to get trained up. We have an online training platform that you'll be able to use on your own pace, on your own time, that goes over each of the lessons, goes over each aspect of the program. And then you'll just need to plan, how do we secure the bikes? Where are we going to ride? What types of teachers do we need to be involved, and so forth. And then during the summer, again, you'll have the opportunity to send one of your instructors to Colorado or California to participate in Riding for Focus Camp. And then before the school year starts, you'll receive the equipment, which is the bikes, the helmets, and you'll be ready to go, hopefully by the first day of school, with your Riding for Focus program. So that's why we're getting started here in the fall. All right. So moving right along, we'll talk a little bit about what it means to have a successful program, what it means to really have a successful application. Okay, so these are some of the elements: implementation readiness, implementation fidelity, which is your ability just to keep on going with the program, your ability to be data driven, your community partnerships, and having a fundraising strategy. These are all things that we see people who are really, really dialed in or Riding for Focus be able to do. But what does that mean? Okay, so implementation readiness is really about these 4 areas, right? You're going to have a fleet of 30 bikes. You're going to be managing 30, 40 students on bikes. You're going to be having to make sure those bikes are maintained. You're going to be having to make sure those bikes are secured. So these are the 4 areas that in your application on Monday or whenever you decide to submit, you're going to need to have a thought or a plan about how to do each of these things, right? Where are the safe riding routes in your community, right? What is the classroom structure that you're going to be implementing the program in? Is it going to be PE? Is it going to be a health class? Who are the folks, when you look at staffing, who are the folks that are going to be trained up in order to manage the program? And then as it relates to staffing, it's really important that you have an aligned administration and district approval for the program. It's not uncommon that a teacher will apply for the program, and then sometimes they won't really have run it up the ladder with the district, with their administration, and it's kind of becomes a surprise once they get the grant. We're going to be looking at specifically how aligned your administration in your district is with having this on their campus, in their district. Do they understand the liability of it? Do they understand everything that comes along with it? So that's what we're looking at with setting and staffing. Then we'll look at whether or not you'll be able to secure these bikes and this equipment, right? Do you have a location indoors, a shed, something of that nature? Have you thought through what that means? And we'll help you do that. We'll collaborate with you to do that, but you will need to have a certain understanding of what that means. And then as it relates to maintenance of the bikes and the equipment, have you sought out a bike shop, or is there a bike shop locally that can maybe help you set these bikes up? Again, we can help you with that. We can help you figure that kind of thing out. And then, of course, sometimes you might need to have some outside funding to tune up the bikes or to support the program. And that's something that Outright can also help with, but it's something that we need to understand your plan to accomplish before we step in with that type of support after the fact. So that's implementation readiness, right? Are you ready to implement this program and ready to get going in the next school year? Okay. Then when we look at implementation fidelity, once you have the program, right, we look at these 4 elements. How closely are you going to be following the curriculum? How many times a week can you do the program? We know that, just doing something once a week, it's not going to be super helpful. But if you do it twice a week, 3 times a week, we know that kids will be able to really build a habit of writing. So can you do that? Will you be able to do that? And then looking at the quality of the program, are you working with certified PE teachers or teachers who have implemented programs before, who understand how to work with children around uh, this sort of program? You know, and then student engagement. And this is what we can are you able to gauge through the student surveys and what you're able to gauge just by observing, right? We think that the best programs have each of these elements in place, and we'll be looking in application to understand if we can project that going forward. So, of course, things come up. You might do things a little bit differently. You might do things, you might modify and adapt the program to meet your needs, and we all think that that's really great. But we find that the programs who really closely follow the curriculum really get, 3 or 4 sessions a week and really have high student engagement by incorporating, social media, incorporating different techniques, whatever the case may be on your campus, have the best programs. And so we'll be gauging that in the application. All right. So that was kind of a lot, but I always like to just run through that to help people understand what the program is all about. You know, at the end of the day, Ride for Focus is really another tool in the toolkit for your students, for your campus to be able to get on bikes, really be able to understand how to progress their social emotional health and how to build the foundation for riding. And so, you get the bikes, you get the helmets, you get the staff support, you get the network of the Ride for Focus schools, which I talked about earlier. We're in over 300 different places all across the country, and so you'll have that at your disposal. Okay, so that was a super high level overview, but I'll go into some common questions that folks have, generally speaking, and maybe this is one that you might have as well. But I always like to go over these. Once you get the bikes granted to you, do you own these bikes? Yes, you own these bikes. These are your bikes. Um, and you assume the responsibility for them, right? They're great looking bikes. They're built to last. They are always going to be ready as long as you keep them ready. How many of these bikes can we receive in the grant? We see that, we know that class sizes are really increasing across the country in different ways and combining classes. And so we try to keep it to about 35 to 40 bikes per school. And we find that that's usually the sweet spot for what people are able to manage and able to oversee. Um, you mentioned that there's a curriculum. Can we preview that curriculum? Can we see what it's all about? Of course, we'll send you a sample of the curriculum so you can look at the lesson structure and understand how that might fit into your own school curriculum. But it's something that we've developed over the course of the years with different researchers, and then you'll find that it's really a really detailed script of how to get kids riding, how to maneuver, how to check out the bike, and so forth. And it's about 14 lessons that you can adapt to make over time. So we can definitely send you a preview of the curriculum. You talked a little bit about training. So again, we have an online course that we've developed that's really high quality. You can go through at your own pace. We have quizzes and assessments that teach you about the curriculum, teach you about the program. And then we have the in-person opportunity that we're calling Ride for Focus Camp, where you can come and be among your peers and folks who have implemented the program previously. And that's all expenses paid training experience from wherever you are in the country to come to Colorado and participate in that event. Adaptations, do we have to follow the program as is specifically spelled out? I think, of course, there's always going to be differences in how your particular campus or how your particular community will, implement a program like this. So we encourage folks to make modifications, but just work with us to help us understand how that went and why you did it. Okay. What if I'm out of school? I'm interested in this program. Again, go seek out a school if you're a nonprofit in your community who might be interested in this program. And then, maybe you can work with that PE teacher, work with that health teacher, whatever the case may to be a partner. Because we just believe that we want this program to be accessible to as many students as possible. And we think the best way to do that is through a school. If you're not a public middle school, what's going to be your option there? Well, the option there is to raise funds on your own and come back to us, and we can work with you to work out a purchase of the program. But for the purposes of our grants, that we are only going to be working with public middle schools on that. Just again, I think that's where the most impact can be had, the most accessibility can be had. And then another question that comes up is around our data collection and what we do there. So again, that's going to entail student surveys that are pre-program surveys, and then after you do the program. That's a requirement, but the students can opt out if they are concerned, or if their parents or families are concerned about, privacy or anything that they might be concerned about. They can opt out. These are, of course, all anonymous surveys. We're not taking individual names or data or anything like that. Everything's going to be aggregated and everything's going to be anonymous. So that's a little bit about our data collection work. So, these are just some common questions that usually come up. And I've ran through these pretty quickly, but, nonetheless, if there's anything that, you guys have, I'm going to be on the line here for as long as I need to answer those questions. But by all means, we also have some literature. We have a lot of literature. We have a frequently asked questions in detail on our website. We have our official grant guidelines. If you like to kind of dive deeply into the legalese around eligibility and around implementation, go read that on our website. And then go ahead and start applying. As soon as you have been able to wrap your head around everything, go ahead and start applying so that you can get some clarity around what your programming will look like next school year. And then reach out to us with questions. We have a really quick response timeline at this particular address. If you email me directly, you might not get a reply, honestly. But if you email writingforfocus@iWriteBack.org, you will get a reply very quickly. So I know it can be tempting to reach out to a name and a face, but I think really the best way to get your questions answered, the best way to get support, is to reach out to us at writingforfocus@iWriteBack.org. And then I would say finally, I showed you guys our team slide. We've got, essentially 4 or 5 of us who are working on, working with close to 1,000 organizations across the country, between schools and nonprofits and our different stakeholders. So sometimes it might be you might have to wait a day or two to get a response to your question, but nonetheless, we're going to be working on it. Okay. So yeah, that was a little bit of information over the past, looks like I've been talking for almost 30 minutes, but I would love to answer your questions. And you can come off mute, or you can put them in the chat, or you can, those are the 2 ways. You can type it in the chat, or you can come off mute and ask it in particular. All right, so Andrew asked, can a nonprofit work with more than one school, or does it just have to be one? I think that's a great question. A nonprofit can work with multiple schools, and we have examples of a nonprofit who is working and embedding themselves, and I think it's 3 schools. So, and we have other nonprofits that work with schools as well. But again, those schools are going to be the ones that are the recipient of the grant. And those schools are going to be the ones that are responsible for the equipment and responsible for the maintenance. They can work with you to do that stuff, but the school is going to be the one that's the legal recipient of the grant. Even if you can work with more than one. So what other questions do people have? You can come off mute, or you can type it in the chat. If you don't have a question, then by all means, thank you for coming, and we appreciate your interest in the program. This will be uploaded to our website shortly, and I think you'll also receive an email with the recording.
So
So,
peace.
yeah,
How you doing? My name is
yeah,
Brother
absolutely.
Lloyd, and I wear a couple hats, and I think you may have answered this question, but uh, I am a co-founder for a mentoring organization that is a nonprofit, and we provide educational services within schools. We're in three different school districts. But one
Hmm.
thing that I don't want to do is throw something else on the gym teacher as far as a duty. I seen this more as an after school type of program, but if the school has to be the grantee, I think it's a different conversation for the community grant. I think that's more of the angle. I think that would work on my end because I understand the school gets it, but for as a black led organization, for us to be able to receive even assistance on getting a fleet of bikes, I know the power that can have in the young men's lives that we serve
Hmm. Yeah,
instead of
absolutely.
I mean, okay.
For sure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My
No,
bad.
no, that was it. That was it. And I appreciate you too, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I totally understand that about the gym teachers, and the responsibilities that all of our teachers have. I would say, the program is best suited for the kind of teacher who I guess wouldn't view the program as being something else, but maybe being an addition or being a supplement to what they're already doing. So maybe a teacher who's already kind of looking for more, if that makes sense, just to maybe finding a teacher who can have that perspective as opposed to a teacher who's like, I'm not another thing, if that makes sense. Um,
No,
and
totally,
then
for sure.
and then just in terms of the like you mentioned, the community grant may be a better option if you're just looking to kind of build on your own programming and you just need some support and assistance around that. You can use that grant to buy bikes. You can use that grant to buy equipment as well. But this particular one
Okay,
is just about inserting this in a really kind of sort of specific way into a school. And again, you can work with that school to implement the program and help them, but it would be that school who would be
for sure.
taking it on for sure. Thank you for your
Okay,
question.
thank you, thank you.
All right. Let's see. Do you have materials to help recruit teachers to get involved? Yeah, I would say share this webinar recording with them. Share our website with them, or connecting with one of us through Ride the Focus at outrightbike.org to help get their questions answered. Is that the kind of materials you're looking for? Or you're looking for something more specific, Andrew? All right. Um, great, great. Okay. Uh, I think you might have to say more, Andrew, in terms of hours per week, in terms of the commitment, time commitment. Okay. Yeah. So I would say, in terms of helping the teachers understand what they're signing up for in terms of time commitment, again, I think, we like to see the program implemented, at least multiple times a week, right? So if you're looking at it from that perspective, maybe that's 2 or 3 hours a week um, where they're actually instructing, you know, um, it might be maybe it's 2 times a week, right? So we have some teachers who run the program every day in their class. It's kind of up to you and what else you have going on in your class and your community. But then there also will be sort of looking after the bikes, which might be, you know, 1 or 2 hours a month if you're just looking at just cleaning the bikes up and making sure they're ready to go. Just the sort of I think the regular sort of class prep you might do for any kind of equipment that you're using regularly. So I think that is how I would answer that question. Um, but would be willing to have a conversation in more depth with any teacher who wants to know more. Cool. All right. I will hang out. I'll continue to hang out, guys. But if no one else has any other questions, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Hope everybody's having a great early fall. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.